Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in this the clown decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And today we are once again having to talk about Britain's two-tier policing habit, because once again someone who definitely deserves jail time is simply not getting it. As Victoria Thomas Bowen avoids jail after throwing milkshake at Nigel Farage in Clacton during election campaign. The OnlyFans model, 25, because of course she is, what else can 25-year-old women with no skills aspire to be, hurled a drink at Nigel Farage as he left the Moon and Starfish Wetherspoons pub in Essex on 4 June. Reacting to her sentencing, the Reform UK politician says it is the latest example of two-tier justice, which I completely agree with, and we'll get into details why shortly. But even for avoiding jail, this sentence is ludicrous. She was sentenced to 13 weeks in prison, suspended for 12 months. So, again, for people outside the UK, what that means is that if she commits any other crime in the next 12 months, whatever sentence that crime gets, there will be 13 weeks in prison put on top of it. Which, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to jail, you should go to jail for at least 6 months. I don't think any jail sentence should be below 6 months. And if it's not that, at least give her something else, though it appears that she pleaded guilty to assault, so that might be why they are being quite lenient on her. And she also pleaded guilty to criminal damage, I imagine, for the damages to the suit he was wearing, at Westminster Magistrates Court on 21 October, where Deputy Senior District Judge Tan Ikram also handed down her sentence on Monday. Her reasoning behind all this is just ridiculous as well. She told officers she does not agree with his political views, and when she saw him leaving the pub decided to act because she had the opportunity. Reacting to... No, you have to go to McDonald's to buy your banana milkshake first. This is premeditated. Don't just say, oh, I did it on a whim, I just happened to have the milkshake. No, this was planned. And obviously Farage said that we've got two-tier justice, because obviously we do. But it turns out also, in addition to her suspended sentence, which again is nothing more than a slap on the wrist, she basically gets another slap on the wrist with a few fines. £17.50 to pay for the suit that Nigel Farage was wearing to get it cleaned, £154 in victim surcharge, that's basically a fine for committing a crime that's given to the victim, and £450 in court costs, so at least this didn't cost the taxpayer any money. But as I say, total slap on the wrist, and this is the sort of thing that isn't particularly going to stop people from trying the same thing. As we've seen before, milkshaking was a massive thing back in 2019. Nigel Farage, I think, got hit twice. Carl Benjamin obviously got hit, and I'm sure there were more examples than that, but they're the ones that come to the top of my head. And apparently 2024 was when it made a slight return, though it looks like people were going a bit further as well at that time, because there was a man who hurled objects, specifically cement bricks, at Nigel Farage's election battle bus in Barnsley, and he avoided jail time after being slapped with a suspended sentence at Barnsley Magistrates Court. This was 6 weeks in prison, so slightly more than for throwing milkshakes, but it is suspended for the same amount of time, which is 12 months. At least this one's a little bit more than a slight slap on the wrist. He has to carry out 120 hours of unpaid work, which is community service. He has to do 20 rehabilitation activity days. Not gonna lie, don't know what they are. From the looks of it, it basically looks like it's 20 days of therapy that can include relationships, education, lifestyle and associations, going to AA, emotional management, attitudes, thinking and behaviour, specific interventions for women, finance and accommodation. Yeah, basically he's got to do 20 days of therapy from the looks of it, but anyway, let's get back to it. 85% court costs, so again, at least it's not cost the taxpayer too much, with an additional £154 surcharge, and again, that's because Greeley pleaded guilty to a public order offence at Barnsley Magistrates Court. He had admitted using threatening, abusive, insulting words and behaviour with intent to cause fear or provoke unlawful violence. Which again, this is the biggest issue with all of this. The whole point of these people attacking Farage, even with milkshakes, is to effectively bully people or intimidate people or coerce people out of lawful political activity. Which is obviously something that we should be massively punishing. But as I say, these people are just getting slaps on the wrist, which is completely different to another case back in 2019 with Jeremy Corbyn, where a Brexit supporter who egged Jeremy Corbyn while yelling "respect the vote" had been jailed for 28 days, which again is nothing. If you're going to jail, go to jail for 6 months. John Murphy, 31, admitted attacking Labour leader with an egg following the MP's visit to a mosque in his Islington North constituency on 3 March. Mr Corbin was shocked and surprised by the attack, which prompted his team to increase his security, Westminster Magistrates Court heard, which is true of Farage as well, by the way. He had to increase his security after these incidents as well. Magistrates said Murphy had attacked our democratic process. Murphy from Barnet, northwest London, admitted the charge of assault by beating, which again is similar to the charge that the woman with the milkshake got. Now, admittedly, this is only 4 weeks in jail, not the 13 weeks that the OnlyFans model got with a suspended sentence, but either way, even if it's below 6 months, just put her in jail, because as it looks like, there is nothing more frustrating to people than seeing criminals avoid jail when they could easily go in them. And I know that jails are above capacity at the moment. Well, not above capacity, but there are a shortage of jail spaces anyway at the moment. Guess what you can do? You can just deport all the criminal foreigners. That would make room for about, I think, 15% more spaces there would be. That's pretty good going. But you've got to realise how this looks to the average person. It looks like if you attack Nigel Farage, you can basically get away with it, because that's how people see suspended sentences, getting away with a crime. And let's be fair, just having to pay the courts and the victim some money, it doesn't really look like justice has been done, because, you know, there's been MPs that have been stabbed, shot, assaulted, had their offices attacked. Like, we have a massive intimidation issue when it comes to politicians, and not beating them down hard with jail sentences is only going to make the problem worse. For some reason, they can manage to put the man who attacked Jeremy Corbyn in jail, not when it's Nigel Farage, though. And it just looks like the system, again, is two-tier, favouring leftists, favouring characteristics that are on the progressive stack, plus their allies, which Jeremy Corbyn absolutely is. They had a race manifesto in 2019, for God's sake. And it's worrying people. And this is an issue with the two-tier sentencing and policing that is outside of politics as well. Because just a few weeks ago, a 61-year-old man was found dead in prison and was believed to have killed himself, an inquest heard. This is the story of Peter Lynch, which I'm sure a lot of you already know, but he was jailed after being convicted of rioting outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Manvers, Rotherham. So Lynch died at HMP Moorland in South Yorkshire on 19 October, Doncaster Coroner's Court was told on Thursday. And he was jailed for 2 years and 8 months. And what was his crime? Oh, his crime was that he was in front of a mob that gathered outside Holiday Inn Express on 4 August shouting "scum and child killers" at the police. He was also holding a placard which claimed corruption of various people and organisations, including MPs, judges, the media and the police. That was it, by the way. That's all he was accused of. Over 2 years in jail for it. You know, coming up to 3, really. In court, his defence barrister had described Lynch, who is survived by 3 children and 4 grandchildren, as very caring and a family man. He also said that Lynch had suffered a heart attack earlier in the year and had been diagnosed with diabetes. Poor guy. Like, he's in a bad way with that life. But obviously, because he was in the proximity of a mob that did, I believe this was one of the hotels that did start having arson attacks, apparently that's when you've got to bring the hammer of the law down, you know, shouting at police and having placards. Having placards that just say people in authority did bad things is apparently not jail-worthy. Bear in mind, by the way, that the woman with the coconuts placard, the one that absolutely breaks both the Public Order Act and the Equality Act by calling Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman coconuts, she got away with it. She was found innocent. But no, having a placards that claims corruption of various people and organisations, apparently that on top of having a go at police lands you in jail for 2 years and 8 months and brings the man to end his life. Again, probably because of his illnesses as well on top of that. But again, this really is not helping beat the two-tier justice accusations, especially when we've basically had no update from those 3 guys that hospitalised 3 police officers in Manchester Airport a few months ago. We've had no updates on that, to the point where Reform have to personally prosecute those 3 men. It's just crazy. There are people that unironically think that the two-tier policing is just a conspiracy theory. What more evidence do you need? And boy, does the incompetence and two-tier get even worse. A man accused of driving his partner to take her own life through domestic violence and abuse threatened to throw acid in her face, a court heard. Ryan Wellings, 30, denies the manslaughter of Keena Dawes, 23, who left a note before her death saying, "I was murdered, Ryan Wellings killed me." She left her young daughter with a friend before taking her own life on 22 July 2022. This is just horrible. Preston Crown Court heard Miss Dawes told a friend that Mr. Wellings threatened her, saying, "I'll throw acid in your face and watch you burn." The hairdresser from Fleetwood met the defendant in January 2020 and was swept off her feet, her mother told the court. He had a name and face tattooed on his body just a week later and proposed marriage within 3 months. Oh my god, that's quick. But it is alleged that Mr. Wellings began physically and emotionally abusing Miss Dawes soon after, and she told a friend that the relationship was a fairy tale turned nightmare. He is also accused of assault and coercive controlling behaviour between January 2020 and July 2022, which he denies. On Monday, the third week of the trial, jurors were told of messages sent by Miss Dawes to her friend alleging Mr. Wellings' threats. And after details of these threats and actual abuse that I don't particularly want to go into because it's disgusting, it turns out that the court heard Miss Dawes felt let down by Lancashire police because after Wellings had been arrested for allegedly assaulting her on 11 July 2022, he contacted her again with abuse on the face of its breach of his bail conditions, but no action was taken against him. And then 11 days later she took her own life because she just felt like life wasn't worth living anymore because she obviously didn't feel like the police cared about her. She felt like she was never getting out of the nightmare. The police failure here has led to a woman taking her own life, as police action and sentencing action led to a man taking his own life in prison. And this trial is continuing, and I have no doubt that this trial is going to find even further problems with the police. And again, you might say, well, how's this two-tier? How does this fit politically? Because the police are in such a dire situation that the two-tier policing has effectively come about because of massive incompetence, and I'm fed up with people saying, oh, it's austerity, it's austerity. No. These police forces have time to go to people's houses, scroll through Twitter, and find offensive remarks made that they can then knock on people's doors to say, hello, you're on the list. I do not want to give the police any more benefit of the doubt. They are useless in the UK. It is not unheard of to see statistics of percentage of solved crime being less than 20%. So more than 1 in 5 reported crimes are left unsolved. Now, that isn't me saying that all the times that they're unsolved mean that someone guilty has got away necessarily, but 20%, that feels like a very low statistic, and certainly feeds into the general feeling that people have in the UK that the police are effectively useless. And in this particular case, they are so useless that it led to a woman taking her own life because they wouldn't do anything about her abuser. It's just horrific. But then thanks to our crazy laws, what do the courts take seriously? Oh, a convicted terrorist is suing a pub called the Saccharin's Head Inn for its deeply offensive sign. Khalid Bakker, who was previously jailed for distributing jihadist propaganda, which apparently now doesn't just mean struggle, is claiming £1,850 for its depiction of a brown-skinned bearded Arab. Yeah, that's what a saracen is. But the landlord of the pub in Amersham, Buckinghamshire, is labelled the lawsuit as a complete joke. Saracen is a term used to describe an Arab or Muslim, particularly at the time of the Crusades. Robbie Hayes, 52, the landlord, said, "This pub has been called the Saracen's Head for 500 years. He's just chancing his head." Of course it worries me. You never know with people like this. No one at this pub is racist. We don't believe the sign is racist. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we know. This is the sort of thing that should never make it to court. It should be thrown out straight away. But no, the court take it seriously. And what does that lead to? Oh, Bakker announced his plans to extend his fight to 30 other establishments with the same name if he's successful. He filed the proposal at a county court previously known as the Small Claims Court. In his submission, Bakker claimed, "While walking through the area, I was shocked and deeply offended by what I saw." It's clearly xenophobic, racist, and inciting violence. Oh, I just love how straight after that, Bakker was jailed at the Old Bailey in 2018 after being found with jihadist leaflets on the tube, admitted to 5 counts of dissemination of terrorist publications. Why is he in the country? You want to talk about two-tier policing? This is a perfect example of it. Man found with literal jihadist leaflets. Oh, what happens to him? Oh, well, he ends up going to jail. Okay, fair enough. Oh, but he's still in the country and he's still able to abuse the court system to try and make some free money. Out of absolutely asinine cases. It's just absurd. It's the country we live in. Vote reform, they'll deal with this nonsense. Anyway, I think we've covered enough nonsense there, and I'm sure you all have your own anecdotes of where you see two-tier justice and two-tier policing in this country. That, bear in mind, has been effectively incubated throughout the Tories' 14 years in government. Obviously, it was brought around mainly by Blair, and two-tier Keir is going to do absolutely nothing about this. In fact, according to two-tier Keir, this is probably a good thing because, oh look, the system's working. Because this is the system working as intended. All people care about at Whitehall in the House of Commons is process. Is process as written in writing being followed? Yes. Okay, it's all fine then. But when do we change it? Oh, when international law says so. And this is what international law is at the moment, apparently. Or at least there's nothing from the UN saying that this is terrible, so again, another organisation that just needs to die at this point. Anyway, with that, it's everything I had for you for today. So, chill time. Saturday, it's Laughing at the Guardian, last one of the year. It'll be chill, so do come along to that. Streams, the regular streams I do probably won't come about again until the new year. Though over the Christmas period, obviously anything can happen. I'll play fast and loose. There might be the odd fun, chill stream, you never know. Videos, once again, out as and when I can make them. When specifically they'll be over the Christmas period, I'm not sure, but I do know that you're getting at least 4 videos this week. But with that, please do subscribe, become a member, send super chats, super thanks. They're all very good ways to help the channel keep going. And once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.